I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, he is opening up so much stuff and doing nothing else. Well, I was gone out of town and a lot of stuff came in, and so I need to open stuff to where they're no longer not opened. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Devin from Devin Talks Tabletop. I'm your friendly neighborhood board gamer, and this is a YouTube series in which the games are made up. What I say doesn't matter, and I am once again back with some Horrible Guild content. So I own the base of this game. I own the base version, just Vendetta. But I reached out and asked to do this deluxe one because I really wanted to show you what this game has to offer, because it's just one that I feel needs more love than it gets. And got to get rid of so much plastic. This is a asymmetric card playing or card management game where players have several locations in the city that they are trying to vie for. And they do that by, this is set, it's called Vampire the Masquerade Vendetta, and it is set within the Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness universe, which is pretty popular now in terms of all of the stuff that has come out. You've got the Rivals card game from Renegade. You've got the larger campaign narrative adventure that's being created right now from Flyos in Canada, who's doing the Chapters game. And then you've got all of these different iterations in the world that are coming out. So Vendetta, if you're familiar with the world Vampire the Masquerade at all, it's got all of these different vampire clans that are spread out in terms of different types of traits or strengths and weaknesses that they reveal in their time or their experience that they have. And what's fun about them is that in each game you have like a different way in which they're revealed or where they're shown. And in Vendetta, it's all about the city. I think it's Montreal. You're competing for control of it, and you're doing that by going to these different locations and trying to take over control of, like, you're trying to drain or take control of humans. You're trying to recruit these vampires into your clan, and you're using these very different methods of doing it. Some people might be beguiling, and they're focused on the way in which they manipulate someone else. Someone might be very physically aggressive, and they're trying to fight you in a violent manner. Or you might have people that try political influence. There's a lot of different ways in which these clans operate, and their cards, their asymmetric decks that they have, are the main mechanism through which you see that difference of opinion and that difference of gameplay. What I like about Vendetta is that it is a game that plays in like 30 minutes, which is hard to find. It's hard, to me it really is. You know, people say filler game, and they mean it in two ways. It's got somewhat of a negative connotation to it, because you're like, oh, it's the appetizer before I have the main meal. And I don't really mean that. And other people mean it's just a game that doesn't take long to play, and maybe it's really light mechanically and it's not got a lot going on. This is a crunchy, chunky, bitey, bloody mess in a good way that happens in such a short time span. You can play 3 to 6 people, but it plays in 30 minutes. And that time doesn't really, you might last 45 minutes to 60 minutes when you're learning the game for the first time. But once you understand how it functions, it moves at a pretty rapid clip. And it's so much fun. I really enjoy it. And this is the deluxe. It kind of shows the full production value. Horrible Guild can make some really beautiful stuff, but you don't always see it if you don't get the nice versions of what they've got going on. I like the base version of this game, but just the production value, they really put a lot of heart into what they made here for this deluxe version. This is designed by Charlie Cleveland and Bruno Faidutti, and then who was Martin Mottet is the artist who did this. And it's this really beautiful neon, like kind of dark, grimy underworld colors that go into this. You've got kind of these like pastel greens and reds, these rich purples and like neon pinks. And I love the visual aesthetic of this game. And they've got card sleeves for everything. They've got player mats that you can kind of keep all of your stuff set out on. They've got these nice component holders that you can do for the components in the game. The upgrade pack that you get with it. Okay. Bag's not great, but you're not going to keep it in this bag. This is just the bag that it comes in, so that's not a problem. There we go. You've got these really chunky metal coins that kind of have that like burnished, washed look to them. So they kind of look, you know, like they're blood money, so to speak. I really enjoy this, and I don't know. I mean, I covered this back on when I was doing a written blog, but just I didn't feel like anybody was really talking about it. And you've got silver coins too. I felt like that was a shame, because I think if I had to pick another game that I thought was a really solid, easy game that played in 30 minutes, it would be Escape the Dark Castle. I used to think it was Escape the Dark Sector, the sci-fi version, because I just like sci-fi more instinctively. But I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm not souring on Sector. I just think that it's harder than it needs to be for a game of that. Like, mechanically, I have to refresh myself on how the combat works, because combat functions very differently at that level. And for the type of game that it is, I just want it to be a game that I can pull off the shelf, play, not really have to even worry about remembering the rules, because it's so straightforward. And I think that Escape the Dark Castle might do that better. And this is in the same category of just a game where it's, wow, it's so much happens in such a short time period. You get a lot of game out of something that only lasts 30 to 45 minutes. And I think that's really powerful, really valuable. And I love the card play and the interactions where you're like, oh, I'm going to go secretively, because you can play face up or you can play face down. And when you play face down, you can be bluffing and you can be putting just a normal card there. But when you play it face down, you're worried that maybe somebody's trying to play a really powerful card and they're going to reveal it later, and you don't want to maybe waste one of your plays on a city where you're going to have a hard time getting that location that round. And there's only like 3 rounds. And across those rounds, you're trying to determine where best to allocate your cards. And yeah, you may get, I think you get 1 extra card per round, to where by the end you have more cards than you started with, and you can maybe allocate more of them to certain locations. But it really is this tense decision of, where can I afford to play and put my influence? I don't necessarily want to spread out. Maybe I spread out on all locations and I get a 2nd or 3rd place at all locations. But I could also just lose out everywhere and everybody else gets at least 1 location, and they're better off for it than I am. So it's this interesting play of figuring out when and where to push the advantage, and how to leverage your clan's special abilities in a way that is going to make it that much more compelling. So really enjoy Vampire the Masquerade. You've got, I can't even really, yeah, so these are the typical player mats that are upgraded by these neoprene ones. Let me see if I can find the locations. Yeah, so you've got these locations on the board that then have your clan's spot where you slot in your cards around the circular board, and your goal is to try to see if you can get it. Got a lot of space in here for all of the components, so I'm going to hopefully be, slotting all of those in there, which I'm excited about. I really, now that I've got this one, I want to table it again and just see how satisfying it is with the upgraded components, and then also to just jump back into the game, because I think it's got a lot of stuff that's going for it, a lot of stuff that is valuable, and it's a game that I think more people should know about, because I like it a lot. Alrighty. Dry throat timestamp, and we're done.